I'm here with my good friend Mychael Caywood. Michael, how you
Oh,
doing?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So the reason we're here today is Michael took down the first Pro Quest in Colorado last Saturday, and he did it on a super unique list that's been making its rounds around the internet. Been making some waves on Discord. Um, I think a lot of people counted Lexi out of the meta in a lot of ways. They were looking at Starvo, they were looking at Prism, and first ProQuest in a super competitive scene. I think you'll agree. He takes it down on a Lightning Lexi. So, welcome, Michael. I'm happy to have you here today, and I'm
Oh, man.
excited to have you show us through your deck and talk through some of your ideas and what brought you here.
Cool, man. Let's get into it. Yeah, like this Lightning Lexi build, I'm pretty happy to show off because I would say it's been the works for quite a while. I did go to the Orlando Nationals, which was super awesome. Um, and I did take a Lightning Lexi build there. Unfortunately, I didn't do as well as I anticipated I would, but not as bad as I anticipated I would. And this deck has basically been in the works since Tales of Aria came out. Um, you know, we played together. You see me. I think all the times we've played, I've been on Lexi. Every
Yeah,
time we've been able to meet in person. So just super happy to show it off, and uh, I didn't expect to get the results I did at all. Like you said, the competition was pretty crazy. We have some like really competitive players. While not everybody there is like competitive, I would say every person I faced was there to win it. Like
yeah.
every person I faced was not going easy on me by any means. So it
Yeah.
was genuinely shocking to win, honestly.
Yeah, Colorado is a tough field. We have a lot of really good players. We have a lot of people here that came from a really extensive Magic the Gathering background, Yu-Gi-Oh background, just years and years of TCG experience behind a lot of these guys. And I'm curious, do you have any previous TCG experience before Flesh and Blood?
No, no. I collected Yu-Gi-Oh a little bit, and of course I'm familiar with like I've bought like the pre-constructed Commander deck in the past. Played it like once. I didn't never went to any events or anything. Mostly just like the art and stuff. So I would officially consider this like my first TCG game. I've been playing for about a year and a half. I was in like the competitive fighting game community.
Oh, okay,
Not
cool.
so much anymore, just because I put all my time into this. But I was super into competitive fighting games, and a buddy of mine who joined me and my training partner basically in the fighting games introduced me to this. He's like, it's just like a fighting game. So, um, and I have to agree, it's just like a fighting game, and everything about it is just great. So this, I would consider this my first TCG, let alone my first like one I've gone out of my way to be like kind of competitive in, or like level up my skills and be like as best as I can possibly be on a casual level. So
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm in the same spot. Flesh and Blood was also my first one that I actually took seriously. I played a little bit of Magic back when I was a teenager, but I never knew what I was doing. I never went to tournaments or anything like that. So it's cool that Flesh and Blood seems to be a lot of people's first TCG or the first one that they take seriously. I think there's something to be said about that, about the ability to pick it up and play it at a reasonable level without a ton of experience.
yeah.
But that so like the skill floor seems to be low, and then the skill ceiling is also very high, which I think makes it really unique. Um, so one of the things I wanted to ask you about is you mentioned that you've been kind of one tricking Lexi for a while. Why is that? What is it about the hero? What she can do, the deck building options that kind of keeps you coming back to this hero?
Definitely the flavor of it. It's just like role playing, I guess, like a
Yeah,
ranger.
yeah.
That's really as simple as it is. I just think it's super cool. Like Azalea is like one of my favorite characters when I first started, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously she's terrible, so I moved on from that. But and Ranger's always been the one like in the back of my head. I was like, oh, I hope this is good one day, so I can just like play it because I'll just like stick with that.
All right, so could you walk me through the equipment package that you have here? why did you pick what you picked? When do you pull in the other equipment that you have on the side here? Just walk me through it a little bit.
Yeah, totally. So, uh, first off, weapons Voltaire. Obviously, this is a Voltaire deck, not Death Dealer, Lightning, or Voltaire Ice, or kind of like the other variations. This is strictly. Uh, some people have said kind of almost a generic Ranger is what people have been calling it, because it really only has a
Mm-hmm.
splash of Lightning. But Voltaire being only accessed by Lexi is like really huge. So you'll find that this deck is super low cost, and that a yellow or even a blue can kind of field the whole turn. And a lot of time you're only paying for the one cost of Voltaire. Voltaire's pretty interesting. I really like that. You kind of have to ask if you like to forego a weapon in favor of giving your weapon either go again or sorry, your attack actions either +1 or go again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that just works really well with the arrow suite, especially with cards like Bolt and Shot. Endless Arrow is amazing with this. Honestly, I felt like the zero cost arrows really just feel so good with this, because you're able to move into more of that like red line Cheerios Briar territory.
Right.
And since that's gone, I felt like uh, I was really inspired by that with the Benny Ball Lightning and Plunder Run and stuff, because I felt like Alexi still kind of tools that were in that same vein, especially with electric. Frazzle, light it up, and all that stuff. Voltaire's just the centerpiece. It's the best. Um, New Horizon is uh, the biggest equipment piece. I would say this deck cannot function without New Horizon.
Yep.
And people have asked, like, can you substitute Honing Hood? Can you do? I don't honestly think you can without changing the deck core completely. New Horizon allows you to put an arrow face down into your arsenal or end your turn by parceling an arrow, and start off your turn by using Lexi's ability. Flip over that arrow, use Voltaire twice to shoot 2 arrows, and then on the third attack, use that arrow from arsenal. That can't be done by Azalea. It can't be done by any other character in the game. It's a really unique line of play, in my opinion. Um, so New Horizon, it blocks for 2, which is really has saved me so many times in the end game. It's kind of crazy.
Yep.
uh, the Arsenal thing sucks. It blows up. It blows up. If you block with it too early. So you just don't block with it too early until you're like under 10 health. At least that's my approach. Sometimes it sucks taking a Herald of Erudition to the face or something because I'm too stubborn to block with the New Horizon. But I truly like when that card's gone and it's only the early or the mid game, you really feel it. Like you really feel like your power level has been, uh, you know, part of it has just been cut off. Um, New Horizon is just so good.
Yeah. Don't want to block with it too early. Definitely a core of the deck.
Spring Tunic, it's the best legendary of the game. It, it just makes lines of play accessible that wouldn't normally be. It's I don't think I have to say much about Find Spring Tunic.
Nope.
It's
Speaks
just
for
so
itself.
good. Yeah, it feels. Well, I mean, because this deck will have a lot of choices where you're using like you have to correctly if you want to get a fuse turn off, not waste your fuse card and make these just like weird choices. Find Spring Tunic allows you to start those turns and not have to make those choices
Mm.
by playing Artivore, by playing Three of a Kind and stuff, and seeing what your hand will be, and then
Right.
sculpting it from there and deciding what your pitch will be, what the overall turn will look like. Um, Bullseye Bracer, uh, a lot of people have asked me like why maybe not a lot, but a few people have asked me why not Shock Charmers in this deck, and I really think that Bullseye Bracer just synergizes a lot more. Shock Charmers is amazing in Ice Lexi, like it's the best card in Ice Lexi. In this, I'm not really trying to get too many hit triggers in me. I'm just pushing pure damage.
Right.
And what Bullseye Bracer does is allow you to like extend your turn one more arrow, especially after your opponent has exhausted their entire hand. Um, this is super important because a Rain Razor's turn is your most powerful turn, giving +2 to all your arrows for the entire attack. And the damage will be so much sometimes that your opponent will block their entire hand on just the second or third arrow, and they will be out of cards. And then what you can do then is capitalize on Bullseye Bracer if you have to go again to get a free, 7, 9 damage sometimes just straight to them, like with, you know, nothing but equipment blocks that can stop it. For this deck, Bullseye Bracer is just uh, really amazing. I've had games that were only won because of Bullseye Bracer. Like it's that good.
Yeah, it's one of those
Uh,
surprising pieces that I think can sometimes people forget it's on the
yeah.
board.
Mhm.
Kind of like Snapdragon Scalers. A
Yeah.
lot of times people forget that that's on the board when they're playing against Katsu, when they're playing against Lexi, and they look at a card and they're like, "Wait, you didn't give it go again." But then
Yeah.
they're not looking at your boots and they're not seeing that you have two cards left in your hand.
Yeah. The longest turns my opponents will take sometimes is when I'll use my Voltaire for the second time to like do endless arrow or something else will go again. And they're like, why are you doing go again? You've already used the maximum number of like what can you possibly do? And they'll look around the board and then they'll see that be like, well, let me see that, and they'll read it and be like, oh, okay, so you're expecting to get endless arrow back to hand. If you do, you'll use Bullseye Bracer and get that final hit in for just like 8 damage or 7 damage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, to Snapdragon's just this is an aggressive deck. Snapdragons is an aggressive card. That's all it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like on my sideboard, I have Perch Grapplers as a substitution. Perch Grapplers is the defensive card, right? So it's just swapping it out if you need more defense in a matchup, or if you're totally fine just taking all the damage and straight racing is just kind of two choices you need to make
So
there.
so when do you bring in the Perch Grapplers?
Yeah, I bring the Perch Grapplers mainly for Prism, of course, for Hero of Erudition. Um, even though sometimes I feel like it's not that good because that Fractal Replication card now.
Right.
Um, Sometimes even if I have Perch Grapplers, I just take Erudition to the face because I'm afraid of that card. Uh, Perch Grapplers, yeah, is mostly against Prism. I've also had some slight success using it against the new Bow Starbro,
Mm-hmm.
and just for more health at that point, like you can just read the 2 health
Yeah.
because those games really really go down to the wire. But for the most part, Snapdragons is a superior card. That's the one I always use. It's the base level of the deck that helps it operate and helps it be like really deadly.
Sure. And then what about Heart of Ice? It looks like that's the last piece of equipment that we have in the sideboard here.
Yeah, so Heart of Ice gotten quite a few questions about this one too. Like, is it for Viscera? Is it for Briar? Is it for I put it in only for Wizard personally,
Oh, okay.
just to run Arcane Barrier 2 because in this deck I actually have 19 yellows, which I felt like was like way more than most decks. So I wanted to capitalize on it just in case I played Wizard, that I could use those yellows very efficiently to block damage.
Sure.
Um, and since this deck is so low cost, uh, actually, if you know your opponent is running like Sync Blows and Fate Foreseen and Unmovables and all this stuff, Heart of Ice isn't a terrible choice too. I would definitely practice it a little bit because you have to sequence your cards a little weird. You know, you're one less pitch. But overall, this deck's really like low cost. So Heart of Ice in all control, like pure control match, was actually not that terrible. Um, but its purpose put in here for the Pro Quest was just for Wizard.
Right, which we did have one of those at both of the Pro Quests, I believe. I think there was
Exactly.
one at both of them. Yeah.
And while this deck can race, I don't have much experience against Wizard, and I assume he can race as well. So I want to be prepared for that.
Sure. Yeah, so let's walk into some of the main board decisions. I know you have snapshots here. That definitely helps you extend your turns a lot. It wasn't until recently that I realized how good this card is, not just with Death Dealer, but with Voltaire. Um, it's actually insane with Voltaire. I'm guessing you've pulled off some really big turns with that card.
Yeah, the most I've done is loading Voltaire like 4 times.
It's a lot.
Yeah, like, and especially on a Rain Razor turn, that's really big because yeah. So I am running all 9 snapshots
Mm,
because I felt that capitalizing. This is in this deck how you capitalize on the 3 of a kind turns. I would
yeah.
say this deck is almost like combo like in that way, in that you're setting up. to use three of a kind, or you're setting up to use Omnivore, and Snapshot is kind of like that middle piece that, because that's a common question I get. It's like, well, you can only use Voltaire twice. Like, what's the use of all these arrows? Well, if I get Snapshot and a Fuse card, and I have Brain Razors out, that's three. That's three arrows that get buffed by two. If I have one in Arsenal as well, that's like +8 on the entire chain.
Yeah, it's like a channel mount heroic turn in a way. You're
Yeah,
giving +2 to everything, just like channel mount heroic does. I mean, you've made some comparisons to the Cheerios Briar list, and I think that's kind of a key addition is this Rain Razors card, just adding tons of value to a go wide Ranger deck.
absolutely. Um, and so yeah, in my only Fuse cards here, right? I got Snapshot, Dazzling Crescendo, and Light It Up. I think are those are the only ones, right?
Right.
So you can tell just based off that, like what my focus is on, right? Dazzling Crescendo is just amazing. Like anyone who's played Ranger knows this card is just solid. Like it's just solid value. If you can fuse it and load it with Voltaire, you can always choose the +1 mode, which is
Mm-hmm.
always good. That's why Bolt and Shot is so good. Dazzling Crescendo, you give it +1, you can fuse it, get go again. They know you have maybe a Lightning Surge in hand, but they don't know what that other card is. It costs 1 to load and 0 to shoot. Super cost effective. It's just like the baseline cost efficiency that you see in Ranger. Um, and also it gets pumped by Pulsable Haven, which is pretty sweet. You can pull that off. Same with Snapshot.
Yep.
But I'd say Snapshot is really like um, I'm not debating. I am taking the blues of the Snapshot. I feel like the blues kind of like leave a little bit to be desired in
Okay.
favor for Bolt and Shot blue. But even the turns where I could rain razors and then use blue Snapshot and then two other arrows following it, just still feels so good. Like so, while Snapshot's not the like worst choice, Bolt and Shot I feel like will offer that a little bit more consistency in that regard. But most Ranger builds you'll see like Frazzle, Buzzbolt, Sleep Dart, especially in Ice Chilling, Ice Vein, Blizzard Bolt. What all these have in common, they're all one cost.
Mm-hmm.
In this deck, I truly tried to limit like the one cost to just the absolute essentials. So what that ended up boiling down to was Fatigue Shot and Light It Up, and those are my only two one cost cards. And this turned out to be pretty sweet because what you'll find is it really just makes your deck, overall like cost less, but it really smooths out turns where you get a one cost arrow and a zero cost arrow, and with a single blue pitch, you can operate on that entire turn.
Right.
Uh, and so I use all these zero cost arrows. The one that I would say is the weakest that I've been asked most about is Ridge Rider Shot right here. So this is 0 cost for 4 damage. You get to opt one. As I've used the card, funny story, I actually just included it at the beginning just to because I like the art a lot. The art is pretty sweet. And super flavorful, right? Like, but I really like the opt one. So opt one in this deck, in any opt in particular or any draw is so beneficial because for one reason, it gets you closer to your three of a kind turns. It gets you closer to your rain razor turns. It gets you closer to your turns. And if you get lucky enough and start out with one of them, and you get all these draws, or even you off and you put down the bottom, it gets you one card closer to the next. So the sooner you can do the next one too, is really where this deck shines. Where you can, three of a kind, Ridge Rider Shot, pitch, Eye of Ophidia, get all these, just cycle through 6 cards at that point.
Yeah.
And then I know like I have to be having like another card coming up. So I grew to really like Ridge Rider Shot. So I'm not ready to take it out yet. I actually just really like it. However, I have seen people take this out in favor of like Sleep Dart or just other, whatever they want, but
Other on hit triggers.
other on-hit triggers, right? So, um, I would say like if someone's looking to build this deck, they don't necessarily like that. Like this is definitely the weakest card that could be taken out. I would say that at this point it's just personal preference. Like there's probably better
Yeah,
choices.
and you're running Eye of Ophidia, so for a reason, you're wanting to cycle through your deck faster, so it just kind of synergizes with that. I think that makes
Mhm.
perfect sense.
Yeah. Um, so Bolt and Shot Red right here. Uh, so good. I include the yellows too because this card's just so good in this. Like
It's
everyone
just
who knows,
efficient.
1 for 5 always is like insane, super efficient, and also the mind games of only ever giving it +1 on Voltaire and never having to get it go again. Um, you know, sometimes you don't really have anything to follow it up on. Maybe I just have double Lightning Press in hand. They would never know because I'm not giving that +1 and foregoing a go again. It always gets go again if it's +1. And it can lead to some tricky situations. Uh, Bolton Shot, A tier card is great. Searing Shot is also, I guess, like another like unique part of this deck. It's one of my favorite cards personally, and a lot of people are kind of confused by it. But what I see in it is just like pure efficiency, right? So giving it +1 on Voltaire, like if I shoot any other arrow first, like Bolt Shot Red first, and then follow up with this one and can give it +1 Voltaire because I don't plan on continuing my turn. That's actually 5 threatening 6 damage, which is like one of the higher ratios in the
For
game.
one
Like
pitch. Yeah.
for one pitch,
Yeah.
like how often do you see 6 damage on just one? Like that's
Yeah, usually
like
it's 6 for 2, like the Command and Conquer kind of break point
exactly.
for like pitch value.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. Your
Uh,
your deck is obviously going for just extreme like
yeah.
raw damage every turn, forcing your opponent to block what on the surface just looks like vanilla damage,
Right.
but in the end you're just going for a high average damage turn that's going to deplete them of cards and health faster than the average aggro deck.
Yeah. And, and at face value, these cards are not to be respected. These are not cards you block. They don't really have on hit effects and
Right.
stuff, but these little incremental damages actually add up like a lot. Even if you start your turn series shot like 4 of go again, unhitted is one more. That's one pitch for 5 damage with go again. Which is like usually if you see 1 for 5, it doesn't natively have go again. Meaning there's some like trick to it, or you gotta do something. You gotta fuse it, or you gotta like I'm thinking of bingo right now. You got to reveal something specific to give it go again,
Mm-hmm.
or you got to be less life. Like there's all these conditions to get that 5 point value, but Searing Shot just taps it on there like it's nothing. Searing Shot is actually really good, and I would not take it out of this deck. I think it's makes this deck unique, and also uh, you know just leads to those 30 plus damage turns that I'm really like aiming for with this deck. Um, and then Endless Arrow. Only thing I spend too much time on. Endless Arrow is just super good. With Voltaire, one pitch being able to 4th go again, and if they don't respect it, it goes back to my hand. Shoot that again. Um, you know, Especially when compared with Lightning Press, and they don't feel safe even blocking it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now with Rain Razor, like this card was already super good. Like I ran it pre EDR, 2 or 3 copies usually. Um, but now it's a 3 of because Rain Razor makes this card like really good. If you can trick your opponent to block with their armor, like Guardian blocks with Krager Fist and Tectonic Plating on the
Mm-hmm.
first there, and then you bump it with Rain Razor, give it +2, let it hit, and then follow up with a snapshot on your second bow load, and then able to fuse it. And you have Endless Arrow back in hand, just chilling, like waiting, like and they know that's coming. And snapshot's just a free 6 damage that they have to take before they even get to Endless Arrow. Like it like this card moved from like A tier to like S tier in my head. Like it's the best card in the deck in my opinion.
Yeah,
It's
because you have more
so
lightning
good.
presses, basically. Rain
Yeah,
Razors is just like a better lightning press.
exactly.
Um,
And the biggest turns I've had is where I can they try to block out the endless arrows. I go over them, and then I use Bullseye Bracer to finish it. With the Rain Razor still out, so it's like 7 damage. They have to take it because they don't have any cards left, and then it goes into my arsenal. And then New Horizon lets me flip that, and then you know start off by just doing the whole combo. It starts this cycle, uh, this tempo cycle that is very hard to break once it gets going. And Endless Air is definitely like a key part of that. Like I cannot talk about how good this card is enough. It is so good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Um,
it sounds like you've built your deck to be able to have some very strong consistency as well as having some really huge like blowout turns that catch people by surprise. Like they think you're gonna threaten 10 and then you end up threatening 25.
yes.
Um, and Endless Arrow is definitely part of that. Snapshot's a huge part of that. Um, let's move into some of your sideboard here. When are these coming in? Why? And then after that, let's do a little bit of a summary of what your actual pro quest looked like, what
Yeah.
some of your
Totally.
matches looked like, and how it felt getting to finals and whatnot. So we'll get to that, but let's go into sideboarding here a little bit.
Sure. So, it's pretty easy, honestly. Like, so what I've set up on the left over here is the base deck. Like, if you're a person who aspires and like, oh, this deck sounds pretty cool, like, this is all you need over here, right?
Right.
The sideboard, it was specifically targeted for the meta I thought I was going into and what I knew like other people were playing and stuff. So you gotta respect Prism. In this deck, I don't have any six blocks. Like that might be apparent to most people, whatever. But the battering bolt it used to be command and conquer. Battering bolt I find to be better. Like some people still run command and conquer stuff. The reason is because of three of a kind, right? Three of a kind is like the glue of this deck, or I wouldn't, just one of the power cards. Like it's what makes this deck. It's almost like a three of a kind combo deck, right? And what do you not want to see when you three of a kind and combo? You don't want to see command and conquer.
Yeah, yeah,
Like that happened one too many times to where I was like, all right, command and conquer's out. Like I'll take anything over this. Luckily, battering bolt was there, so it just fills that really neatly, right? And it can be weirdly good sometimes. Like, I've just like you can catch Prism with just like an all instant hand or whatever, and you can start this off with using a Voltaire on the first load and doing 6 of go again. And weirdly, they'll like freak out because they're like, "Oh crap, I have like 3 auras and like this stuff in my hand," and like so,
yeah.
so they'll play them out and like they'll play everything out, and that's like fine with me because um, then I'll shoot at them again with Voltaire, get a free hit, and then like try to use Snatch or Lightning Surge or just like a non arrow attack to like to pop that aura that they played. Um, so this is just for Prism and also Oldhim, right? So the Oldhim matchup is super tough in this, and typically with the Oldhim matchup, you just want to like uh, throw every sideboard card in, right? So Battering Bolt is actually pretty good because you can pitch them early on. And when you're really low in your deck, which will almost guarantee go to with Oldhim, like you'll go to the end game or whatever, and you have nothing but blues, you can actually like set up a 14 damage turn or something, or sorry, 13 damage turn. 6 with go again on the Battering Bolt, then 7 on the Voltaire, uh, to just like uh, uh, really have some power cards late in the game, which can be a struggle for Ranger.
That
Um,
makes sense.
Fatigue Shot was just for
Mm-hmm.
Bravo Star Show, whatever you call because I found it to be so good in that matchup, right? The Yuki Lee Bender like wrote a thing before the Pro Quest season started, like talking about how she wrote an article like how good this card was, and I read that. I wasn't even considering it at first. I wasn't even considering the Reds. I was like, no, I want to do the zero cost card, but she like laid it out how effective this card is, especially like when your opponent doesn't want to block, and sometimes it forces them to block, or else their turn will just be terrible. The perfect example for Starbo is like if they take a bunch of damage and awakening, and then you can get this and finish your turn, and they like it halves the damage of a crippling crush. It's huge because crippling crush goes down to like 6, and you can block it out with one card, right? Stop the crush effect. Um, Even with just like their Autumn's Touch hero ability turns, like cutting off 3 damage from that adds up. Like this
Yeah.
is a game of incremental changes, a push and a pull and stuff. Making fatigue shot like hit for 4 and then prevent 3 damage the next turn is like that's like enchanting melody, right? Like that card, right?
Mm.
Remember it like prevents like 2 or 3 damage. You gotta but you got to pay. Like this is just like built into the card.
Well, yeah, it
It's
kind of
crazy
becomes
good.
worth 7 at that point. If it's hitting for 4, and then it's essentially having
Yeah,
their attack and preventing 3 damage,
yeah,
it's essentially worth 7 damage across both players. So yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think fatigue shot's one of the cooler things that came out.
yeah.
Um,
Like so yeah, I run the reds too. Just as like it's so good. In the yellows, like I only sided them in really for that, and also I liked it. I tried it into Prism as well, which I did like.
yeah, in
I
case they're
added
running
battering bolts to
library,
each up.
yellows are good, obviously.
You know, just to devalue their heralds because they need like a full
Mm,
hand to do anything. So if they're trying to follow up with a double Warching Herald time next time, like this prevents a lot of damage. You know, uh, this card's great. Like it almost feels like a majestic. Like every time I would play it against Starbro, they would like groan because they'd be like, "Oh my
yeah,
god, like this makes my turn look terrible." And I know you're doing a ton of damage. I know I have to race you, and now and like I don't want to block this card really with my armor because it's because I know there's 9 of them in the deck. Like
yeah.
it's not a majestic, it's a common. It's just so good. Like I think it's a great choice against Starvo.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think it's a great meta call. I've been playing Starvo mainly this ProQuest season, and every time I see this card come out and I'm looking at an awesome turn becoming a lot less awesome, it becomes a really hard decision between blocking this and having a lackluster turn or not and having a lackluster turn. And I think that's one of the cool things about Lexi, both Lightning and Ice, is
mhm.
that she forces this decision pattern on the other side of the table where due to the raw damage or the on hit effects of like Frost Lexi, you're forcing them to choose between blocking and having a lesser turn or not blocking and still having a lesser turn.
Yeah, it's a weird choice, and I didn't even realize like how weird it is until I was on the receiving end of it. It's like this sucks. Like I don't want to make this choice right now. Even as playing Ranger versus like another Ranger, it like felt terrible. Just knowing like you're this card you're paying so much for and you're holding to take all this damage is only worth like 3 damage at that point. So yeah. Exude is probably the one I got the most questions about. Exude is um uh in our local meta, south of Denver, there is a lot of old hymns, and this has been my strict card for old hymns specifically. So I would say this is very particular on your local meta. But I know that I have a bunch of good old hymns, and I have to respect that because that's the toughest matchup. Um, and Exude Confidence lets you set up really easily. Like the only other character that has it as easy to give it go again is Briar, right? All you have to do is flip a lightning card, and then you start your turn with this, and it puts your opponent in a really weird spot. Especially since they know like often if I'm flipping a lightning card, like because I have so little of them, it's like lightning surge, right? So they see Exude Confidence coming for 4 of go again. They see Lightning Surge coming for 4 of go again, and then they know I haven't used my bow once yet. So that then there's 2 arrows following that. It just puts them in a really weird spot, especially if they're looking to hold cards, or you know, I've caught Oldham with an all defense reaction, and then once I realized that, I pushed like 20 damage, and it just leads to so you can get lucky with that. But this was particular for the control matchup, dash control, Katsu control, like anyone if I knew they're on control, this would be for, but primarily for hold him. So there's 2 things. There's 2 purposes. One is if I have like 2 arrows in hand and a blue or whatever, I can shoot 2 arrows, and I know they have an. I can shoot 2 arrows in the end and pop that over. Or I can if they have a lot of spectral shields out. This is also a great spectral shield killer, right? Flip a lightning card in arsenal. It's just good at like taking out like if I want to bump it to take out spectral shields. It's really good in that. But also, or primarily, it's just for you know a non-arrow card to pop auras with. That's also just not that bad in general. Like
Mm-hmm.
um, it's Prism. Like they have defense reactions. They have instants. This counters both of them. It's not that bad, and just because you can give it go again so easily is is why I think it really shines with Lexi in particular. Um, yeah. Um, Seek and Destroy. This is another Starbro tech. I said this one because I found in my early testing of Starbro, he was keeping hands a lot, right? So
Mm-hmm.
once they were on a pulse that was really good, like uh, I forget if it's Pulse Volthaven or the defense reaction one, like because they
They're
steal
all
their
good to
element.
hold.
They're
That's
all
the
good to
thing.
hold, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So this makes it so they literally can't hold it, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of great in that sense. You may most of the time when I saw it played against Starboard, they would full block it, right? With armor, whatever they needed and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because um, they don't like that, and also clears the arsenal. And maybe not all Starbros are running it, but all the ones I've seen are running Crown of Siege, which is also just a great counter for that, right?
Yeah.
Um, and also it fits in against Oldhim for the exact same reason. I think it's just really good. I've also had success running this against Viscera. If you know they're going on like an OTK plan, this makes it so if you get any damage over, they can't keep that set on their personal. They can't,
Yeah, they can't throw
whatever.
that Mordred Tide in Arsenal and try to draw into their read the runes turn. They can't park their Sonata in Arsenal because they're close to their go off turn. Yeah.
It puts them in a weird position. So Seek and Destroy, I may actually move to the main board because it's just that good. It's like real into those matchups and just in general, like the Lexi mirror too. They don't want to see Seek and Destroy either. A lot of people don't want to see Seek and Destroy. It's just good. Um,
It's 0 for 3 with an awesome secondary set of effects. Yeah.
yeah, and you saw my zero cost there. Like I don't have on hits really, like, and this gives it like an insane on hit.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And then last two. So this we can just throw it. Blizzard was terrible.
Okay.
Blizzard was so
Okay.
bad. It
Underperformed.
underperformed here, but Blizzard really underperformed. It was like the idea is like against Dorinthia. Both versions of Dorinthia, it's really good if you run Axes or Dawnblade or whatever. It's fine. And it gets Katsu right. Like it just didn't work because the reason is I have so many instances already. If you look, I have Rain Razor, Artivore, Lightning Press, Pulse of Volthaven, Eye of Ophidia.
It's a lot of things that don't block.
A lot of things that don't block. And when you include these two, you're just or two instance, and you just
Cry.
you just cry. Like in all these decks, I'm like supposedly countering. They run like 20 plus blues. They were paying for it every time.
Right.
It's not that good.
Like Starbro's gonna pay for that every time.
Every time. Like,
Yeah.
So I took these out immediately. They just underperformed. I'm going to replace them with defense reactions.
Okay.
Because I actually felt like maybe I can put some defense reactions in here and take out either the lightning presses or the artivores, and actually have like a kind of good mid-rangey deck that can like trade blows back and forth and isn't so pedal to the metal all aggro. Like I felt like I can actually transform it into that with just a few defense reactions.
Which
And
ones?
maybe Sink Below, definitely.
Okay.
Again, just to cycle through your deck, right? Like you know, uh, uh, just to get the three of a kind, Rain Razor, or faster.
What about Unmovable for the Starvo matchup?
In this deck in particular, I'm only running, let's see, 369, 13 blues.
Okay.
So the chances that I have that is just like much smaller.
Fair.
And I found that like the Katsu matchup is actually super tough in this because with his new tools in Everfest, he can absolutely race you. I can't say that about really any other deck except for maybe like an aggro Viscerai that gets really lucky, or a Starbro that gets really lucky, and like not many decks can actually race this. Putting defense reactions in and stuff in uh, to counter Katsu, who can race you, was even bigger than that, and just all the Katsu stuff, the
Yeah.
Surging Strike, all this stuff. I feel like defense reactions for that matchup, and it also goes into the same original plan I had to counter Dorinthia. I would put them in against Dorinthia, So I think those characters I didn't respect them enough. So I'm gonna take Blizzard out so I can like, respect those matchups a little bit more.
Sure.
Remember, it's just for Oldhim and control.
Okay.
That's all.
I had a feeling.
It recycles your threats. People have asked me what I target with these specifically, or what my priority is, and I think it is important to have a priority based on your stage of the game. So it's three of a kind. If you play three of a kind in the first like 2 turns or 3 turns, which happens a lot, you want to recycle this definitely. If it gets to mid game, you most likely want to recycle your red arrows, any of them. I prioritize Snapshot and Endless Arrow definitely, because Endless Arrow turns really make can really like push past Guardian's defenses and stuff, especially Lightning Press. Um, and then last, if I know I have snapshots in the deck, I will sometimes recycle Lightning cards if I know I don't have many in there left. But generally that's a priority. 3 of a kind, red arrows, and then last Lightning fuses. Maybe blue pitch if I knew I didn't have that much left and I had to block with a bunch of on or something. But for the most part, it's red arrows. I put these 3 cards here just to like. This is the Triforce of this deck, right? 3 of a kind, Rain Razor, Arbor. These cards make the deck. The deck would not be good without these cards. So I just want to give them a special shout out. This is the Triforce right here.
Sure.
These cards is what you're digging for. This is what you want to double Arsenal with move. And if you get a red arrow in any one of these cards in Arsenal, you're almost guaranteed to do like 24 damage next turn. Like almost guaranteed. Like it just gets ridiculous. So these cards are it's funny. Artivore was a late stage ad, but I can't see myself removing it. It was so good in this deck. Giving +1 to Bolton shots is really big, or any of your red arrows. The draw 2 to cycle through your deck quicker. And then a lot of the time, I will draw into either Rain Razor or 3 of a kind and double up on those power cards because I've cycled through my deck so much that it just performs phenomenally. Like it's just so good in any deck where you can attack 3 or 4 times with attack actions in a single turn. So just want to give a special shout out to these cards because they're insane.
The overperformers, the setup cards.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Well, yeah, thank you for walking me through that. I think I just want to end the video here with getting a quick summary from you of how your actual Pro Quest felt. Particularly the finals match, I think would be cool to talk about.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, so I do like, so it was 42 people, right? And so we had to play 6 rounds and cut the top to 8. So just real quick, I'll run through like who I played. Round 1, I played Prism, and it's the same Prism I played the grand finals. So that was pretty crazy. That I was. It's awesome. I was just barely able to clutch it out. If he had one more pitch, like he had a yellow instead of a blue, to play Merciful Retribution at the end, because I kind of disrespected the auras and let them sit on the board way too long. And then he was able to get some board state. If he was able to put a Merciful Retribution out at the end, because he had enough for a special field also, I was down to 2 life. I would have died. I didn't have Arcane Barrier left. So that was a crazy match. Next, I played Viscerai. I think this deck, one selling point of it, or one like reason to play it, is I think it has a really great Viscerai matchup because Viscerai has to go super aggro to match you, and he doesn't get to set up Sonata as well as he wants and stuff too, because the more 6-card hands that he lets Lexi have, the more like he just can't compete because he can't really have those kind of crazy turns. Well, just a little bit of setup. Runeblood Incantation, these cards like kind of help with that and stuff. But I just feel like overall, like this deck has a really strong performance in the Viscerai. Round 3, I played Katu, and that's where I learned like Katu is like actually really good against this deck. I lost that one, and that I need to actually put some sideboard slots in for that because it's really good into this. Round 4, I played against Rhinar, which another good part of this deck is that, or another good part of using Lexi is that both the ice, and now I think I've like kind of given some validation to the Lightning build, which didn't really have much credibility after Ball Lightning got banned because everyone thought like Ball Lightning was essential for a Lightning Lexi build. So now that there's 2 like really good builds, your opponent has to guess, right? Do they guess for a very, very on-hit heavy Ice Lexi that's going to use Shock Charmers to apply 3 Frostbites on a single turn? Or are they going to fight a Lexi that's going to not block? The way you approach these decks, or those 2 decks, is completely different. So on round 4 against Rhinar, he actually sideboarded for the Ice Lexi.
Okay.
And I was able to really take advantage of that because he put in a bunch of defense reactions. It was planning on trading blows and stuff, and like, no, I didn't block a single time. Even when he double barraging beatdown and like let me decide if I was going to block my last 2 cards, I didn't every time. I was like, no, I'll just take like 16 damage, whatever it is, because I have Rain Razors and Searing Shot and Arsenal and 3 of a kind in hand. I know this is about to be insane.
Right.
So yeah. Um, yeah, that was round 4. Round 5 was another Viscerai who had to go aggro against me. And again, just another really close one. I won that one, and you know, he even with really good Sonata turns. I remember he had really good Sonata turns on that one. Like played 2 of them and didn't miss them. Um, I was still able to clutch it out. Like it was a really close game. Great. Round 6 was Starbo. And at this point, I think it was already locked for top 8, or at least I was being told. So I was like, kind of my guard down. But this game was just a straight race. It was over in like 7 minutes. It was over
Wow.
so quick. It was against Jay, you know.
Yep.
Who, neither of us blocked for the first like 4 hands or whatever. And it went down to the wire. He had 2 health left. I lost that one. It was really fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So cut to top 8. First match is against another Starbo, and who's a really good player, Chris Brummett, really
Yep.
good, like doesn't misplay at all. And that one, I got so lucky. So literally, I saw 3 back-to-back Art of War and Rain Razor turns, um, and like he went first. Okay, so this matchup against Starbo is like the most high rolliest of high roll matchups. It's either he gets something good first turn or I get something first turn.
Right.
That's really what it feels like it comes down to. So Chris, he decides to go first because he's higher seed. He draws his hand. He just looks down in disappointment because he drew like 3 ice cards, none of them really that good, and like a blue Autumn's Touch.
Been there.
Couldn't do anything. He swings like hammer at me, or no, he just moves to in-phase. I don't think he does anything.
Yep.
And I double load my arsenal with like 2 Bolton shots, like 1 red and 1 yellow, and then he doesn't even swing back. He doesn't feel like it's worth like swinging back. And then I start. I get an Art of War immediately, so I can +1 to give the Bolton shot to go again in my arsenal, so I don't have to waste Snapdragons, which is like really clutch. And then get those out. Return with 4 arrows into a setup. Draw into a Rain Razor's 3 of a kind turn. Get that draw. The 3 of a kind draws me on the board, so I'm able to arsenal that after the turn. It was just pretty insane. I got extremely lucky, but that's kind of the meta we're in, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. This deck is really set up to get those potential high rolls, because it does kind of happen kind of often where I, just get these insane turns that I didn't, really plan on getting. I just got lucky, but it is what it is. So then round 8 was against Viscerai. This is another crazy one, and I saw this is my first exposure to Viscerai using what's that card? Reek of Corruption.
Right.
2 cost. If you create an aura, it's 4 damage. If it hits, you have to discard a card.
Yep. It's another
So
consuming volition.
So that is a really good play against Lexi too for the disruption. Luckily, this deck is so low cost that when he did it, I was still able to pay for a full turn. Like, sure, I didn't have like I had to discard like 1 card. I took it every time. Like, I didn't block at all. Took it every time and just discard the card. He did a crazy like. I remember he pulled Rattlebones out, and then after a big like Gloomveil turn, and then played Reek from the graveyard as an instant to disrupt my hand. I was like, oh man, that's crazy and stuff. It went down to the wire. I didn't have any on Caneberry. I think I had like 1 or 2 health. Another, Viscerai is just really good. Like, there's no close games or no like high roll games with Viscerai. Like, they're usually always really close. And then round 9, grand finals is against Prism, and the Prism player Mychael Caywood decided to go fully like control against me.
Okay.
Which I was kind of expecting, because in our first round when we played, I realized I saw him, use all the sync blows and all the soul shields. I was like, man, that's crazy. That's a lot of. I thought you were going to go like the aggro Herald plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Ranger doesn't have any 6s. Like, I thought you would just try to run me over with Herald. This is really surprising to me that you decided to run the defense reaction. So I remember that, and so I knew the game might go long, so I just threw in a few extra sideboard cards, the fatigue shots, the exude confidences, all the battering bolts and stuff. And really lucky I did, because at the end of that game I had like 12 cards left. all 11 of them were my just blues. So you can see my blues down here.
Yeah.
They're terrible blues, and one like lighted up yellow. That was all that was left in my deck.
Okay.
So that was a really close one. I, s- I don't think I'm favored in the Prism matchup by any means. Prism is so good in this meta. You
Yeah.
gotta respect the auras. Like you can block insane. The heralds do crazy damage. Like Miraging Metamorph is such a good card. Red Warts and Heal is so good. I you just gotta play it really efficiently, I would say, and not make like really any misplays. And that was my biggest focus, was not misplaying,
Mm-hmm.
because literally, it just comes down to one turn. If someone messed up on one turn, that's all it takes. And yeah, that was the run through the tournament. It was pretty crazy. 9 rounds, and I got a gold foil Snapdragon Scaler, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Must feel good.
Yeah.
All the hard work paid off, huh?
Yeah, and so yeah, like, and I'm just so happy I got to show like that, like, unless he can have some legs. I kind of knew it did already, like, because I've been playtesting. I'm like, there's no way a deck that can just like randomly do 30 damage to like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And this deck is just one of those like randomly. Whoops, I did 25, 30 damage like on a Rain Razor 3 of a kind Art of War turn. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So yeah, I'm just so stoked that I could like put one on the board for Lexi.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a ton of Lexi wins across ProQuest yet. I don't know if there's been any others, actually.
I
I'm
think
not positive.
as of February 24th, there is still only one.
Really? Okay, cool. So you're
There have
holding.
been like 20 or so that have gotten into top 8 and
Yeah.
stuff, but I'm the only one that has clutched it. Shout out to Isaac Jensen. That dude's awesome, and he got second place at his. I was really bummed to see that, because I actually played him at Nationals, and he like blew my mind with his Ice Lexi deck. It was so good. And I saw him get to top 8, and I was like, dude, you're like such, he's like Ranger inspiration at this point. Getting to
Yeah.
top 8 Nationals with Lexi, our minds were blown, and I saw him get top 2, but yeah, this is the only one that's put one on the board. And I think I think it's a good meta call deck. Honestly, it's very, very tricky.
Yeah, it's
To
a
say the
hard
least.
deck to learn. That's definitely something I've realized from watching you and others play it. It's very pilot dependent. So I mean, congratulations. Hats off to you for taking what I think a lot of people consider to be an underdog deck all the way to winning a pro quest, getting your pro tour invite. Um, I'm guessing you're going to be going to the New Jersey Pro Tour.
Well, originally I wasn't planning to, but now I'm like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Like, why not? I've never been to New Jersey. I'll go there. Uh, maybe I get destroyed. At least there's the Calling Last Gold Tunic they're giving out. That's pretty hype. Like, it seems like it's gonna be really hype. Going to go. I'm super excited.
Cool.
And it would not have been without for winning this ProQuest. So just it's gonna be great. So hopefully I can take a super refined, like the most perfect version of this deck that I can to the Pro Tour.
Yeah, and it'll be a new meta, a new time at that point. So lots of crafting and testing to be done until then. Are you going to be going to any other pro quests? Because I know we have 2 more in
Yeah,
Colorado.
yeah. I might try to hit up Fabled Collections and Enchanted Realms. I'm definitely gonna try to make it work.
Cool.
Definitely not expecting to do the same results or whatever, but I'll try, and see if the field was able to adapt to my my list.
Well, I'll see you out there. It sounds like we're both going to be going to the next 2. Um, yeah. Once again, congratulations. Thank you for walking all of us through this awesome deck tech. I know you're already an inspiration to a ton of people. I know you've been blowing up on Discord, and that's just super cool to see. I'm super proud of you. I know how hard you've been working to get this kind of a result. So I'm happy for you.
Yeah, shout out to all the aspiring Lexi players that have definitely messaged me and have told me that they're taking the same deck to their local pro quest. So shout out to those. I'll definitely be like eagerly waiting this result to see if anyone else is able to do it. I'd be super happy if anyone's able to see at least top 8 with it. Like I'll be super stoked to see that.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it must just be a cool feeling to have these people you've never met reaching out to you and telling you that, you know, like they're so inspired by your list that they're gonna go take it to their own pro quest. That's got to be nice.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I love when people show that the turns they had too. They're like turn 2, I did like 28 damage. Like this is crazy. I'm like,
Well, cool. I think we can close it out there. Thanks again for joining me here.
thanks for having me.
On the first Big Deck Energy interview.
Big Deck Energy.
Yeah. By the way, Mychael is the one that made our logo. He's one of our team members. Super proud to have him on the team, and hopefully we can get 1 or 2 more wins for the team at the next 2 Pro Quests.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see what we can do. You know, we'll just make sure to keep it fun and you know, just really try to practice as much as possible. And it's a great time to be in this game. Like this game
Yeah.
is so awesome. I'm just super stoked to be doing all this. So you know, thanks again for having me and setting this up and stuff. But yeah,
Well, great
that's all
job. Thank you
all I
once
got.
again. And we'll see you next time. We are doing another interview for another teammate that actually won the second Pro Quest in Colorado. So
Yeah,
look forward to that
an
next.
awesome chain list. I can't
Yeah.
wait to watch them.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll close it off there. Thanks again, Mychael.
All right, thank you.